All right. Well, I'm here with Pastor Jared Hight. Pastor Jared, thanks for being on with me today. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about where you currently serve and a little bit of who you are?
Yeah, so I am currently a pastor at Church of the Crossroads in Corinth, Mississippi, and I have been a part of this church all my life. I'm 40 years old. My dad has been the pastor here, so I got to serve alongside of him. And of course, I'm married for now already. It just seems like it's just crazy, but 14 years. I have 5 kids and incredible church. We're just so thankful what God's doing in North Mississippi.
That's amazing. I think I saw on social media that the church is 99 years old. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, 99 years this past June. So we're getting ready for the century mark. Had to go big.
Come on, come on. Well, I know you have graduated from DLI. You've been a part of Destiny for a long time. What first inspired you to join DLI?
It was a great to be on the very beginning conversations of what it would look like to bring Christian academics into the actual church. And so being with Dr. Brassfield, being able to intern, just hearing his heart, and then watching now Dr. Landon Galloway work so diligently with him and Dr. Brassfield, what started in a dream of Dr. Brassfield's, a God dream, and then come into fruition. So I had done some previous Bible college for a year, but never really finished anything. And I was a youth pastor at the time, and I just this is Destiny's family, but also I wanted just to lean in and get that foundation that I could be able to be a part of, but also I could lead my team one day to be a part of as well. I
That's
think one
amazing.
thing that was interesting, I think one thing that was interesting was that when I inquired about it, um, I had to when I inquired about it, I also had to decide this. I don't know everything. And I knew everybody knows that. But sometimes inside of you, you have to say, I don't know everything. And so I think that that was a good part of overcoming even maybe some personal pride to say, hey, listen, I want to lean in and get this foundation with knowing more of God's story.
I love that. It's really cool that you were already a youth pastor, and so some people would maybe look at that of I'm already in a ministry role, like you said, I kind of know what I'm doing. But especially in that youth ministry role, what with DLI was there an immediate impact on your ministry, or were you able to put those tools to use right away working with young people?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a book that was one of our resources called Jesus on Leadership, and it made this statement, and it says a disciple is a learner.
Mm,
And honestly, sometimes I hate to say it, but maybe winging it just a little bit, or just reacting to situations that were coming in with a schedule. And it really put me in the pattern to be a learner. If I was going to be a disciple, to be a learner. And so the structure that the resources, the coursework, some of those repetition, I actually we were doing an high school internship with some of our high school students for the summer. And so I was doing coursework, 30 days of understanding the Bible. And I was like, you know what? We're doing 30 days of understanding the Bible and just to know God's story. And it really just helped me have a part of approaching, even as I was building out series in student ministry, to really try to bring the Bible to life, not just life application, but bringing the Bible in the full context for life. However, it challenged honestly some of my previous messages when I began to learn more about
right.
a little bit more about apologetics and things like that.
You start to learn how to study the context and different things, and maybe that word didn't actually mean what I preached that it meant.
That's, or the
Especially
whole
when you're in youth
story.
ministry,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
the whole story. I love that. I love when I went through DLI 30 days to understanding the Bible as well, because I'd grown up in church similar to yourself, a PK. You hear sermons, Uh, but especially the background I grew up in, I think we grew up in similar backgrounds. There wasn't a lot of systematic teaching. Hey, we're going to teach through this Bible, or we're going to teach through the entire through the entire Bible. And so, seeing how things connected really opened my mind. I was like, well, these
Hmm.
aren't disconnected stories. They're all connected together, and then also all connected to Jesus as well. Which, you would think growing up in church you would learn that, but for me, it was a light bulb moment.
No, I
So
literally said, I was going to say, I literally said, God is brilliant. Like, I mean, such a, you hate to say it that way, but like, too, when you be it, it just comes to life. And even now, applying those things, God is brilliant.
it's almost like this was all planned out, that he had this all worked out. So you were a youth pastor at the time. Now you are lead pastor. Um, you know what was that journey like? Maybe just give me a short overview of your kind of growth in ministry and growth and
Mhm.
responsibilities and leadership.
Well, I've always been involved in the church. Again, as a pastor's kid, that's not an option. Um, but as I began to go in youth ministry, I was coming out of college. This would have been in 2013. Find myself coming, working diligently, driving back and forth. 2016, I actually start DLI. So it was a great opportunity there, DLI, 2016, 2017. In 2018, we made a shift in what we would call now more of an executive pastor role. Back then, it was just I was dad's associate. This is what it was, and all that meant was everything assigned by pastor. And it was beautiful, though. I get to help build on what I'd already built there in student ministry and to begin to serve in many other capacities, and a lot of all throughout with pastoral care, on the teaching team, in many areas. Leading, I mean, I've led growth track, I've led the first impression team. When you just ask it, it's there. Probably would have changed the diaper if it wasn't against our church policy for a male to do that. But I found myself through COVID in between 2020 and 21, we made the transition into coming out of 2021, this lead pastor role. And it's been a beautiful thing. It's what God's done. But I would just say, again, it was a quote out of Jesus on leadership that has just stuck with me, that in those times of transition, especially remembering what happened and what I learned in DLI, this quote was, I believe God never causes people to do something they can do on their own. And it was a position and a place where, even though I knew all the things, I've been a part of the church, I've been a part of growing in when we had 100 people to now where we're at now, where we had one services to multiple services, now multiple locations. It was still, and I know all the things. However, being a learner and understand that God has called us not to do things on our own, it was through these resources and coursework that just really challenged and encouraged me to, even now, to continue that same pace and that same dependence on God.
I love that. When you step into those big roles, you find out very quickly that you need God's grace. You need that. So it sounds like you went really from, went into DLI, and then just a couple of years after that begin to step into this lead pastor role. Was that intentional of you wanted to do DLI before you step into that, or is it how things lined up? What was the thought process there?
Well, it was a couple of years. One of my big things as I thought about, I've always really just, I've wanted to, I believe God's always called me to pastor the church, but I've always wanted to pastor a church. And when I began to deal, I began to roll out, what I realized is I didn't want people to feel unqualified. And sometimes I would be up there and again, like I would be working through students, and I love it. I love thumbing through the Bible and say, that's it, and Lord bless what I'm about to teach. But if I can set up my staff and set up my team to win, then what that does is it helps us know we're all on the same page. And so how could I ask them to do something if I have not went through it myself? And so it was twofold. knowing that I was going to that was in leadership within our church and eventually moving into that role, I wanted to be able to put myself in the position where I've walked through DLI, I've learned through DLI, and I value DLI. And now I can give this to my staff or give those to potential staff members that maybe not our own staff yet, but this is a process together that we can make sure we're on the same page in what we believe, what we learn, and know in God's story. And so that was just twofold one of the reasons why I did that.
That's great. Leading from the front. I love it. It was mentioned a couple times this past year at the 25th Destiny Gathering that Dr. Brassfield. That's something he instilled into all of his interns. You and I both interned with him.
Mhm.
I'll never ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself or haven't done myself.
That's right.
And we're seeing those values replicated to the next generation now. You kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but if you could speak to a pastor who's maybe considering partnering with DLI for their staff members, for future ministry leaders, why would a church or why should a church partner with DLI to raise up leaders?
Well, every one of us need a growth track. Every
Mhm.
one of us need a pathway to be able to take people that have just given their life to Jesus and to continue to grow them to become learners, or what the resource says, disciples. And discipleship is a journey. And I just believe that DLI is a great piece for everyone, honestly, but specifically when it comes to leaders within your church. It helps people be on the same page. It helps people understand what it means to have a servant heart, that we're not pursuing titles for ourselves, but we're pursuing the title of what Jesus pursued, to be a servant, to be able to understand that God's story is not just something that we pick in one verse, but God's story is this beautiful picture that we're still writing even today as a part of his great church. To understand the basic beliefs that we have in our doctrine and how we can work that together and growing and replicate disciples within our church. And then there's the practical intern piece. Many churches, depending on what size you have, but the, it needs great structure in how to be able to take a person from, that maybe they're super faithful and developing them to be fruitful. And so the internship guide with the directors of DLI and the professors, it allows you to take step by step guided internship to potentially put them on your staff or to be a very effective leader on your dream team and what you're serving. So keeping you everything on the same page and then giving you a pathway to take that extra advanced step in discipleship so that you're on the same page, but also a guided intern process to help you walk with them in this journey based on your expectation and a proven model to grow them as a leader.
That's what it's all about. It's all about resourcing those churches, giving them the tools. Many churches, the pastors has a lot of hats. There's a lot of things you mentioned earlier, things just kind of coming at you, and so giving people that system. That's really our heart and our hope. Well, this has been great, Pastor Jared. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your DLI experience. I would like to ask you one question. It's kind of off the cuff. I didn't send you this question. But you're amazing, man of God, pastor, leader, preacher. Is there a thought, maybe a leadership nugget or something you've read recently in your own devotional? Just maybe a thought that you would want to leave us with. No pressure, but just if you got something on your heart, on your mind that you would maybe want to share with the Destiny family.
Yeah, I was reading yesterday afternoon in Psalms chapter 77, verse 19. It just talks about that he makes the path. He makes a path through the seas. And it really caught me off guard a little bit because I was thinking, you don't think about paths through seas, but
Mm,
you think about life and the vastness and, seas, even the Bible, you find themselves, they're not controlled. Sometimes they're raging, sometimes they're quiet. And I begin to think about as a leader and as a pastor, I'm actually going to share this on this coming team night. But as a pastor and a leader, there's moments of time where things are raging in seasons of life. Sometimes they're peaceful and they're quiet, and you almost could almost say in your life, I got this. But it's in either the raging moment or the peaceful moment that God, if we'll depend on him, he'll make the path through either way. And, I love the verse that says that if we'll stay in perfect peace if our mind stays upon him. So for leaders, pastors, maybe that are going to see this, I just want to encourage you is to keep your mind stayed upon him, and he'll make your paths through the seas of you trying to find that next leader. He'll make you pass through the seas of maybe you're trying to overcome that schedule and you're wearing a lot of hats and you're just asking God, I need that person to step up. He'll make the path through those seas in your family and what you're believing for. But let's keep our mind stayed upon him, and he'll lead us into perfect peace.
Come on, that's a whole message right there. I need that right now with all the things that are going on in my life. So thank you for that encouragement, Pastor Jared. Well, this has been great. For those of you that are watching this, thank you guys so much for listening to this. Again, thank you, Pastor Jared, for your time. If you're watching this and you want more information about joining DLI, whether you want to enroll as a student or get your church set up as a extension site or affiliate site, if you're a senior pastor, senior leader, you can go to destinyleaders.com or click the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.